The manhunt wasn't fading. It was evolving. Weeks had passed since Travis Decker slipped into the forests of Washington, but the fear, it lingered. Every creak in the night, every snapping twig outside a window, to the people of Snohomish County, it all sounded like him. Like and subscribe to Traces of Vengeance for more revealing stories. Parents stopped letting their kids walk alone. Schools shortened outdoor activities. Businesses kept their doors locked even during the day. Travis wasn't just a fugitive anymore. He was a shadow, haunting every routine of life. Sightings poured in. A fisherman swore he saw him washing his face in the river at dawn. A family camping trip turned terrifying when a tall figure in a flannel shirt was spotted moving between the trees. But every time the FBI arrived, the woods swallowed him back. It was as though the forest itself was protecting him. One hunter's account rattled the investigators most. He had been tracking deer at dusk when he saw someone crouched in the brush. Same build, same long brown hair. The man didn't move, he just watched. When the hunter raised his rifle, the figure darted into the timber, faster than anyone should have. The hunter never went back out alone. By now, the FBI had escalated their tactics. Surveillance drones patrolled the skies. K-9 units swept trailheads. Roadblocks were routine. Helicopters circling overhead like vultures. But Travis always seemed 2 steps ahead. Someone or something was helping him. Then came the breakthrough. Deep in the forest, agents stumbled across a makeshift camp. A torn sleeping bag, half-eaten canned food, a trail of cigarette butts, and pinned under a rock, a folded map of Snohomish County. But it was the tree carvings that froze agents in place. Scratched into the bark with a knife were 5 words: "I will never be caught." This wasn't just survival. This was a game. Travis wanted them to know he was watching, taunting. The FBI tightened their circle, closing in on the last coordinates traced from the campsite. For a moment, agents believed this would finally be it. Then, the radio call came in. A convenience store clerk, less than 10 miles from the very town Travis once called home, reported something chilling. A man, shaggy hair, flannel shirt, dirt on his hands, walked in at midnight. He bought a lighter and children's candy. And then he was gone. Was Travis Decker hiding in the forest all this time? Or had he slipped back into the very community he betrayed? Because if he was back in town, no one was safe. The security footage was grainy, almost useless at first glance. But as agents replayed it frame by frame, the outline became clear. Tall, lean, shoulders slouched forward, long brown hair tucked beneath a cap, a worn flannel shirt. The store clerk swore it was him. The figure walked in quietly, bought a bottle of water and a folded highway map. No conversation, no wasted movement. Then he disappeared into the night, leaving behind a silence heavier than words. The FBI's Joint Task Force had been chasing Travis Decker for weeks now, but this was the closest they'd come to a confirmed sighting since the night he fled into Washington's forests. And the problem was he seemed to know it. Inside the operations room, maps littered the walls. Red pins dotted highways, small towns, gas stations. The manhunt stretched across 3 states now, draining resources and nerves. Supervisory Agent Claire Morgan leaned over the table, exhausted. "He's not running randomly," she muttered, tapping the map. "He's choosing his stops. Look at this. Convenience store outside Raleigh. Before that, a truck stop in Spokane. Each time, just far enough to keep us guessing." Another agent added grimly, "He's taunting us, moving like he knows our blind spots." The room went quiet, because deep down, they all feared it was true. Meanwhile, back in Cedar Ridge, the small town where the nightmare began, fear turned into ritual. Parents locked doors at sunset. Windows stayed shut. Porch lights burned through the night like watchtowers. Schools shortened their hours. Some families packed up and left altogether, unwilling to gamble with shadows that seemed to stretch farther than the trees. For Tanya's family, the mother and children left behind in the wake of Travis's betrayal, life became unbearable. Every knock at the door, every crunch of leaves outside, felt like him. The monster they thought they knew. The man who vowed love but brought nothing but vengeance. At the convenience store where the sighting happened, investigators pressed the lone clerk for every detail. She was young, barely 21, but her voice trembled as she remembered. He didn't look like someone passing through. He looked like he was watching me, like he was deciding something. Deciding what? Agent Morgan asked. The clerk swallowed. Whether I lived or not. Her words chilled the room, because it wasn't just paranoia. It was consistent with what they already knew. Travis had grown unpredictable. He wasn't simply hiding. He was choosing when and where to be seen. Piecing together reports, the FBI noticed a disturbing trend. Each sighting lined up with old logging roads, abandoned trails, and forgotten campgrounds. Places Travis knew from his youth. Places outsiders wouldn't dare wander without getting lost. One agent whispered the question on everyone's mind. What if he's not running at all? What if he's circling? The silence in response was deafening. The FBI escalated. Roadblocks tightened. Helicopters swept highways at dawn. They planted undercover agents at campgrounds, at diners, even at churches where Travis's family once attended. If he was circling, they would corner him. But Travis was always one step ahead. In the forest north of Yakima, a pair of hunters stumbled across fresh footprints, large, heavy, pacing in circles. Left beside them was something far more disturbing, an empty cigarette pack, its edges burned with a lighter. Inside, scribbled on torn paper, were the words, "You can't catch a ghost." Forensic teams rushed the scene, but by the time they secured the area, Travis was gone. Again. Then, the escalation came. 2 weeks after the convenience store sighting, flames lit up the edge of Cedar Ridge. A house burned, not just any house, but the home of the same convenience store clerk who'd given her statement. She survived only because she was out of town that night. But neighbors reported seeing a figure near the tree-line before the fire spread. Too tall to be a teenager, too quiet to be coincidence. The message was clear. Travis Decker wasn't just fleeing. He was retaliating. The community snapped. Fear curdled into anger. Town meetings grew heated. Some residents demanded the National Guard. Others threatened to take justice into their own hands. "We can't live like prisoners while this man runs free," one father shouted at a meeting, his voice breaking. He took his own family. Who's next? The FBI tightened their presence. Patrol cars doubled. Helicopters hovered longer. But every show of force only seemed to make the silence louder, because Travis remained unseen. And that silence, that absence, was worse than the fire itself. Investigators dug deeper into his past, desperate for clues. Old neighbors described him as moody. Former co-workers recalled sudden outbursts, followed by weeks of eerie calm. An old hunting partner remembered Travis talking about living off the grid, not as a fantasy, but as preparation. He said one day the world would turn on him, the man confessed, and when it did, he'd be ready to disappear. Now it looked like he had. Weeks into the hunt, morale within the task force began to crumble. Leads fizzled out. False sightings clogged tip lines. Some began to wonder, was Travis even alive? Or was the entire town haunted by the idea of him? But then a package arrived at the FBI's Seattle field office. No return address. No fingerprints. Inside, a torn piece of the same flannel shirt seen in security footage. A photograph of the burned house, and scrawled across the back, "You think you're hunting me, but I'm hunting you." The room fell silent as agents read the message. It wasn't just defiance. It was a declaration. For weeks, they thought they were chasing Travis Decker. Now they realized the horrifying truth. He had been leading them all along. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of Washington's forests, he was preparing his next move. The package changed everything. The shredded flannel, the photograph of the burned house, the handwritten threat, "You think you're hunting me, but I'm hunting you." For the FBI, it wasn't just a taunt. It was proof that Travis Decker was watching them, studying them, choosing when to strike. The manhunt had officially turned into a chess match. Washington's forests became a battlefield of silence. Dozens of agents spread out across logging roads and creek beds. guided by drones overhead. Bloodhounds tracked scents that seemed to vanish at streams. But for the first time, the task force had an advantage. The package had been mailed from a rural post office in the Cascade foothills. He was close, very close. At 5:12 a.m., a camper near Rainier National Park called in a tip. "I saw him," the man whispered over the phone. "Long hair, flannel shirt. He was carrying something. He watched me, then walked back into the trees." Within minutes, agents surrounded the area. Helicopters circled. The sound of dogs barking tore through the still morning air. For the first time in weeks, the hunters felt the pulse of their prey. By mid-afternoon, the pursuit closed in on a ravine deep within the Cascades. Agents moved silently, rifles raised, radios crackling. And then they saw him, Travis Decker, hunched behind a fallen log, long hair tangled, clothes torn from weeks in the wild. His face was gaunt, his eyes burning with a strange mix of fury and exhaustion. But what chilled the agents most wasn't his appearance. It was the faint smile he wore, as though he'd been expecting them all along. "Travis." Agent Claire Morgan's voice echoed. "It's over. Don't make this worse." For a moment, the forest held its breath. Travis stood slowly, hands half raised. In one, he clutched a small hunting knife. In the other, a folded map stained with dirt and ash. "You don't get it," he rasped. His voice cracked, but his tone was steady. "You've been following my trail, but I led you here. I wanted this." "Drop the knife," Morgan ordered. Instead, Travis took one slow step forward, then another. His eyes never blinked, never wavered. "Every ghost needs an ending," he whispered. The crack of a single gunshot shattered the silence. Travis staggered, collapsed against the log, and crumpled into the dirt. For a long moment, the forest was still. The dogs quieted. The helicopters circled wider. And just like that, the manhunt that haunted Washington state came to an end. Back in Cedar Ridge, news of his death spread like wildfire. Some cried, some cheered, others simply locked their doors, still uncertain if safety had truly returned. For Tanya's family, the closure was bittersweet. The man they once called husband and father had become a shadow that would never leave their memories. And for the town, Travis Decker was no longer a fugitive. He was a story, a cautionary tale whispered around campfires, a reminder that evil doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it grows in your own backyard. Agent Morgan filed the last report of the case weeks later. Her words were simple, but heavy. Travis Decker's life ended in the same wilderness he used to escape us. He thought he was the hunter, but in the end, he was just a man running from himself. But even as Cedar Ridge returned to a fragile routine, questions lingered. Where had he been hiding all those weeks? Who else might have helped him along the way? And most haunting of all, what if he hadn't wanted to die? What if the gunshot was exactly how he planned his story to end? Because somewhere in the whispers of the forest, people still swear they see him. A shadow, a flicker, a ghost that refuses to rest. If you've been gripped by this journey, don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel for more true crime stories that will leave you questioning, shivering, and searching for answers long after the video ends. Turn on notifications, because the next case we uncover might just be darker and closer to home than you think. Subscribe now and step into the shadows with us. This is Traces of Vengeance.